Hi everyone, welcome to Hidden Gems. And this is the first time for a little while that I've actually been online, but I am really excited to be back with a great hidden gem for you tonight. So tonight, this afternoon, this morning, wherever you are, hi and welcome. This is a conversation with a business leader who I think you are really going to find interesting. He basically has blown my socks off since I've known him with all his knowledge and all the things he brings. So I wanted to share him with you. I didn't want to be selfish and keep him to myself. So today, now he's going to share something about himself. He is Craig Neal, and he's known as The Collaborator. I think it's such a great title. So welcome, Craig. Can you tell me a bit about yourself, introduce yourself to my listeners, where are you from, and what is this collaboration that you do? We need to know.
Well, thank you so much for having me on as a guest once again. I can't express my gratitude to have an opportunity to just share things. I'm a talker. And I believe, the way we met was through audio conversation. So we're both talkers, but, more importantly, what I appreciate is that you're a great listener. And, my name is Craig Neal, and I am the collaborator. It's actually my trademark. Why collaboration? Well, in the business world, you're going to be hit with, a brick ton of things, right? There are a lot of moving parts. Things are happening all the time because change is constant. And so what I do, I collaborate with leaders and their people to enhance collective performance. Now, I do that in a variety of ways, but more so the big thing is the definition of collaborating. And it really implies that someone's working with you side by side to accomplish the same results, right? So a lot of folks who are, respectively in, I guess, my space, whether they're, leadership developers, they're, specialists in different aspects of business, it's usually a narrow scope. And so my ability to adapt to different organizations as well as people, which is, the foundation of, any organization, it's people. Allows me to, apply a multitude of skills, at the same time, as opposed to just narrowly focused on the task at hand. You have enough people in your organization doing that, right? They have their respective tasks. However, I've been touted as a business unicorn. Again, my skill set, expertise, and experiences bring a lot to the table. So, as opposed to telling everyone that I can, do this, I market, lead, organizations, have, experience in, culture, organizational development, and blah, 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 blah. That goes over most people's heads, right? And it becomes complicated. And then, the more choices someone has, the less likely they are to choose the one that's right for them. So I always say collaboration because I tailor everything that I do to that particular client. Yes, my experience allows me to recall best practices, but even more so, it's important to identify where that client and their organization is at that time and create new things from within, not just bring baggage to be like someone else.
Okay. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. We know a little bit more about what you do. So maybe this question is about who you are. Do you want to tell us a bit about who you are, Craig Neal? Who is Craig Neal?
Well, Craig Neal doesn't really carry a, it's not my secret identity or my superhero, power is not necessarily embedded inside of Collaborator. I believe most of my life I've collaborated with others. My deep affinity for people is what, I guess drives me every morning. I love my family. I love my neighbors. I love my fellow man, fellow woman. And I believe, being purposed is waking up in the morning and having an opportunity to to give, right? And you give, you receive. Just my specialty and at least one of my favorite things is diving into, the complexities of business. But just to give you a little bit of background, Ebony, I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. And I was fortunate enough to have, strong people around me. My mother was very strong, and she put this impression on myself and my brothers to really focus on what we want, and not just look at the surface, but dig a little bit deeper. So my origins of being able to, comprehend information, and also easily adapt to people, is attributed to my mom exposing us. But throughout my life, I've had, some great opportunities, and I was exposed to quite a bit. Chicago gets a bad rap every once in a while, but at the end of the day, a lot of innovation and things that we apply, all around the world, were birthed in Chicago. And I'm proud to be, from there. I currently reside in Philadelphia, but through my travels, I've been, in many states around the country, the United States. I did have, a few trips out to Jamaica, just a nod to you, and enjoy that experience. Haven't been out to the UK. However, I've been able to coalesce with a lot of folks from a lot of places and different spaces. And early on, I got the itch to want to dive deeper and learn more. I like to tinker. I'm not afraid to take a risk as long as I'm not going to get electrocuted or die. But trial and error is fine. And if you don't experiment, if you don't step out of your comfort zone and try new things, you get mixed up, in nothing. And that's what I see, when I look at opportunity with organizations, with being, connected with people. A lot of folks are just giving up, or they're saying, nope, I'm going to play it safe, and then turn around and wonder why they're not, progressing as people and even professionally. So, I've had, some, great run-ins with a lot of Fortune 500 firms, as well as privately held organizations. And I get a mix of that. And those experiences I bring to the table to continue to assist other people and collaborate.
Okay, that is absolutely amazing. I think we have found a hidden gem here that some people may not be aware of. So I'm literally like, woo, hidden gem, definitely a hidden gem. So tell me some more. I'm thinking of what you shared, all these skills that you have and experience, and you're a family person. So I love the family background to who you are. And that's great to hear, because I think we need to be holistic people. We're not just about business, but we're also about life and who we are. And I think something that people may have been challenged with is surviving over the last couple of years. So if you're in business, I'm sure you've met companies that have struggled to stay afloat, to stay current, to make changes, because in my organization, we've had to deal with change. So I know that is a current feature of most organizations, whether they are public or private sector. It's happening everywhere. I'm sure it is.
It is. You're absolutely right. And, as I mentioned, kind of in between that introduction about, what I do and who I am, one key thing to take away is that at the end of the day, it all revolves around people, right? Mm-hmm. So our relationship with one another, we're intermingled, interconnected. We don't live in, our own sex. We actually, live within a global operating, functioning ecosystem. And so, what's good for me, I hope is good for someone else. And sometimes, it's important to reflect on that. So to make, of course, to make a living and to, support the people that are depending on you, your family and things of that nature, it's important to, put, I guess, your best foot forward and a lot of effort into, what you do. Most people work and spend, the majority of their time doing just that, working and hoping that, they'll have a, great, life when, they're too old to work. But that doesn't happen as frequently. And with COVID, or, the global pandemic, it was real. I've lost some people within my family and some of my close friends, as well as some of my colleagues and clients, endured the same. However, as we've kind of moved past, all the panic, right? And there's still uncertainty. I find that a lot of folks who are leading organizations who made excuses before, they're still making excuses as to, why it's not working, right? But there are other organizations out there doing it. There are other people, making up their mind and saying, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm not valued here anymore. I don't find value in, the work that I'm doing. So much shifting and changing. I don't know how it is out, in the UK, but we still have, a lot of, the economy, has had its ups and downs. We have a lot of vacant talent opportunities with people, right? A lot of folks have decided not back, or they've either started their own thing or worked, gone to another, competitor or doing something entirely different. And why most people who lead these organizations, right? Why they make the choice of blaming everything that's happening around them for, their failure or success. It's astounding because there's still opportunity. What they're missing is the opportunity to connect with other people, like really connect with them. During the pandemic, I urged people, I think I used a little bit of social media. I was saying, hey, you know what? There's no excuse anymore. Get on the phone, call your people. I don't care if you have 100 or 5,000 folks. You have the time now. Things it shouldn't be as hectic. Yeah, you have to take care of, essential business and operational things, hopefully getting back to normal. But what about, Mary, or what about, Carmen or Mike, who maybe you've never really established, a deep relationship with them? It wouldn't hurt to call and say, hey, how's your family? A lot of people did that. A lot of people didn't.
Yeah.
And again, that's why they're wondering why won't you come back to me? So, that's my take on that. And if I can say this, I don't use the word EMPLOYEE. All right. I believe that it refers to ownership. And the mindset of most people is that I own these people. I think maybe because we've called, people assets, right? So assets must be owned in some form or another, but people are way more dynamic than that.
Absolutely.
And, and so it's the mindset should shift for those who are responsible or in charge of managing people to, that understanding as well.
Okay, so listen to what you've said, and I love it because it's on point. It's what I call on point, okay, in terms of what's gone on in the last couple of years and how we're coming through that. And yeah, that empathy that is required with leadership, the empathy that leaders need to govern the workforce now in, coming out of a pandemic. So I completely concur with you on what you have shared. My question may be, mindset and thinking about business and leaders. It's not easy to get that shift. And so I am wondering, what do we put in place to help to create the shift that's needed? Because I'm sure a lot of employees who will be listening, or people who are leading teams, and I've done that for many years, will be wondering, how do we shift the upper level to see this level? And how at this level can we see the level that is below? Because there are always levels in an organization, even though we're collaborating. That sometimes is this issue of how do we get the golden thread between all levels to work so everybody sees what everybody else is doing and everybody can collaborate, can work in tandem? How do we get that to happen? Do you have any skills, special skills, I don't know, special powers that you put into the workplace which helps support that outcome?
Sure. You know what? I'll throw one out there. Okay. And I didn't invent it. It's not protected, intellectually, right? But it's common sense. Stop. Observe people. Observation, right? Let everyone know that, or don't let everyone know that you're going to stay quiet today. If you're leading an organization, stay quiet. Cancel or put, if you have the ability to, put everything on pause. Walk around. Shut up. Don't say anything.
Oh wow.
Hey, boss, I need this. I need. Go ahead and delegate it to someone else. Say I'm can't do that right now, and just watch. Yeah, there are going to be some folks that will do their very best to put out a front or a show for a leader who's observing. They're going to, in a lot of cases, attempt to do their best work, but just be there, just breathe it in, and see it from a view of someone objectively independent that can see all these moving parts. Take notes if you have to, mental notes if that helps. But then you'll have an opportunity to see, right? Forget about everything that's chaotic and going on, because it's always chaotic and there's always something going on. So just take a moment and breathe. Then sit down and reflect on what you saw. And that should give you a start on effectively addressing change. Challenges, though I threw this scenario out, most leaders can't do that, right? Or they can, but they won't, because it's taking too much of a risk, to shut down my function, for an entire day or, several days if you really want to dig in. They won't do that, right? Because they feel that their title is so important that they have to, be the strength or the perception of, a leader just taking a step back, may show a sign of weakness. But really the strength in it is really observing and identifying what's happening in your organization. So hence the collaborator, most of my work, revolves around, observation research, having, intimate communications with other people within the organization, and as I opened, I said, I collaborate with leaders and their people. So I don't just leave people sitting, out on the front lines and only communicate with them when I want, some information, and sit back and relax on the, the cushioned, C-suite, boardroom. I'm actually going on that floor with them, understanding what they're doing. Again, collaborating, right? So my client and I should have the same goals in mind, right? We want to accomplish these goals. He or she may not be as available to take on that amount of time of observation. But if they have a partner, a real, dedicated, objective partner that's not tied to a 401k or, worried about, necessarily public perception, right? I don't have to stay there for 40 hours, but I bet you within 3 hours, I can find out what, is what a 40-hour week would be like, right? And being able to, share that and make sure that it's, demonstrable, right? You can see it. Here, come with me. This is what I was talking about. It's an easier way to bring things back, to the fold. And like I said, unfortunately, most leaders won't. Does that mean that they have to, engage me? No, they can engage another expert or whatnot. They can't do it like me. But these are little steps or little things they can do themselves if they would just have the courage. So back to your question, how does someone change their mindset to have courage? Well, Yeah, I think what's important is to realize three things, right? Regardless of, what, firm you represent, and, who's in there, every single person there is unique, including that person leading, right? So understanding your uniqueness, right? The organization, also can operate more effectively if we're not focused on competition. Now, it's fair to have, some fun, to have a competitive, target. Do your analyses if you must, but stop worrying about the competition. Because when we worry about the competition, we're forgetting all the things that are happening inside the house. Like my mother used to say, this is family business. Keep that business in house. Let's take care. Let's get our affairs in order before we go and help others, right? So, but if the mindset of a leader is focused on competition, then they'll never be what they could potentially be, right? And the last one is understanding distinction. How do you stand out? Everything's commodity, which is my crusade, if you will. Service businesses, tech, everything's becoming commodity, and it will continue to be. So what's going to stand out is the competitive advantage that you have within, and that's your people, right? Their culture lives within people. So you have the best of the best people, and I mean the best of the best, because they all have a collaborative mindset and they're focusing on doing the best work as a team, as opposed to competing against the outfit down the street. So the three mindsets, right? Understanding uniqueness, distinction, right? With that uniqueness, being able to express it with your people. It's not tech. It's not, how pretty your color scheme is and how large your buildings are. It's the people in there. They're going to really, differentiate the organization from the rest of the marketplace. And I'd be remiss on this one. Time, right? It's time and money are not the same thing. Though I've heard all my life time is money, right? The money is time. Sure, money is going to, afford you the opportunity to use your time because you have more options with more money, right? But if a mindset of a person is not focused on how much money they need to make or what these numbers and, are, KPIs and, OKRs need to, represent, how we're doing. Yeah, you want to be profitable. Yeah, I got that. But if you're just focused on that, you're missing the big picture. And so if someone can, employ those mindsets, hey, time is something different than money, right? Competition. And of course, that distinction and uniqueness of the organization, that'll help them, reach new heights. I guarantee that.
Well, I love that, because I think a lot of people nowadays, especially those people in the workplace who are involved in personal development, they are looking at improving mindset. They are trying to improve their personal mindset. Often you're going with a good mindset. But what can defeat you is the culture. The culture of the organization can really defeat your attempts to change things. So my experience being a team leader, leading leaders who are team leaders, is that we do the work to get this level sorted. And then we're dealing with the mindsets that do not complement what we do above. And sometimes the mindsets of lack and, people not understanding their role, not buying into the vision of the organization, the objectives, because it's just do I care? I earn so little here. Does it matter really what I think about what we're doing? And you guys can be hyped about it, but you're in the position to benefit more than we benefit. Do you understand that happens?
Oh, absolutely.
So culture to me is key in an organization. How do you how do you get those ideals into the workplace when you are struggling with culture?
Yeah, well,
the way we do things.
And that's a great question. Ebony, that's a great question. And I see it, I experience it, all the time. And I'll go ahead and, refer back to stepping back and observing, seeing how people function, right? So, I'm for a founder or someone who started an organization, I feel for them because things are, they always change. And, when you had 10 people, in the beginning, culture was solid. We're all on the same, we're all on the same page. This is what we represent, and high fives all around. Then you get 100 people, it kind of distills. And then you get 1,000 people, it distills, and so forth and so on. I feel bad for that person, but I feel worse for the leader that was just thrown into it, didn't start the organization, has to adapt to, what this, framework is that may be antiquated in most cases. You guys perhaps haven't, updated your mission, vision, and value statement, in probably 4 decades, but yet you're expecting people to follow this, but the world has changed. And the way that, the workforce perception has evolved makes a big difference, it puts an impact on culture. But one of the biggest reasons why some cultures are so mixed up and they have subcultures embedded is because someone forgot to say it over and over and over and talk about values over and over and over and over and over and over until they lost their voice. Or they haven't revisited it. They just think that, well, if I follow this blueprint, we were successful in 1985, why not do it in 2022? Well, it's not happening, right? It should be organic. You should be looking at it all the time, not just stashing it, not just having plaques and failing to honor it. But people stop talking about it or putting the emphasis on it. And that emphasis could also encourage some adjustments to what's currently going on. And in my walk, more than likely things are being updated or changed all the time. Once I'm embedded in an engagement or intervention, there's some change with the way it's expressed, and also it needs to be exemplified. So the core of that is, like I said, people stop talking about it, whoever's leading the organization. But even more so, we've positioned ourselves with titles as opposed to identifying our roles. Everyone playing a role in making this thing come to life. And so, yeah, that's my take and answer to that. But people are missing it. And I'm not afraid to say it. And most people know it. There are times that I'm engaged, Ebony, and I hear that person say, well, I said that to her, 5 years ago, and, I can't believe, you're coming in here and they're actually listening. But why are you still here? It can't be all that bad. That's my reply. Why are you still, so do you not have the responsibility to be an exemplar? If you've been here this long and things haven't changed, speak up or walk that walk. Do what you want to do. So the new folks coming in, and these cultures will slowly churn into what you may want. But culture lives within people. That's why you have to address people where they're at. And most people are going to go by self-interest, not by motivation. There are a lot of motivational speakers and, consultants and all that stuff. That's great. But I'd rather be inspired than motivated. And so someone inspiring me is someone that's willing to put, their neck on the line, for the better good of people. And my title, it almost like pivots me into a default of, I'm too good for that, or I don't have time for that. I'm too busy. And you have a lot of folks doing that. And even worse, what about these young folks that are coming in? I'm not too old yet. But younger, executives coming in, they're driven by, all this stuff that we see around us. Well, you go to school, get good grades, make a whole lot of money, and, people will work for you. But if we're doing this all day, and this is how I was raised, I'm not going to have any interaction or engagement. And so there's always opportunity for people in, the development space and, to to seize the right time to make a difference and impact. I want to show people like, hey, this is the way that you might want to consider this. It's up to you. It's your baby. I'm just going to play, Godfather in this case. But I want to help you understand that the root of all challenges that you may be having is how you're engaging with people.
Absolutely. So that kind of leads me to a question about communication, because none of this works unless you're having really great conversations with the workforce, with each other. If leaders can speak, it will help, but having those authentic conversations is really important. So, I need to have a conversation about the right things at the right time, and it goes back to time. And that will impact so much, right? It's going to impact the culture, how we respond, what we might do in different situations, how we might address anyway new initiatives. And there's always new initiatives. If you work in my world, there's always something new coming in. So, how people adapt to change is key. But communication, we always know, is linked to any change that you might want to make, whether that's, observing people and seeing that we're not talking, we're not learning, we're not sharing, whatever. But someone needs to be a good communicator. And what I've learned from you tonight, or today now, is that you're a great communicator. So, how do you get that to happen in the workplace? How do you spread that energy to other people so that there's a natural flow of communication going on almost all the time? Can you encourage that in some way, or do you need new people or robots or something? I don't know. Well, how do we get the communication to happen that needs to happen?
Well, robots, at least as far as I know, aren't able to really process why, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Why, right? So why is Melvin acting this way? Or, how come Melvin isn't pulling his weight? Why is Jane so distant? Right? These are questions that we have, but we're oftentimes those, like I said before, my title doesn't require me to engage with you. I think that, I need to stay in this lane. And so I'm going to delegate it to someone that is, unfortunately, when you delegate it to that department head or that VP of, whatever, respective division, guess what? They're mirroring all the behaviors that you exemplify. So if you're a standoff type of person, and your leadership style is more, relegated to checking the reports, they're going to assume that's what their next step is. And so they want to model, because everyone wants to be, get to the top. Everyone wants the best role. Now, I'm going to say that, sure, there are exceptions, in various leadership styles. But having the ability to communicate authentically, and that's a key word that you brought up. Be who you are. I don't want to go into an engagement or work on an assignment or project and convert someone into another Craig Neal, the collaborator, right? That was just a plug there. What I want them to be is their best and authentic self. So I'm not going in with the mindset of, oh, well, this person's broken. Oh, hey, don't do that. I'll leave that to someone who's a coach, all right? Because they're reactive. What I want to do is really meet that human being and understand, what motivates them. Not do my best to motivate them. I want to inspire them to dig a little bit deeper and identify ways to be their best self, whether they have a speech impediment, whether they are an introvert or an extrovert. You communicate in some way or another. We're human beings, so we can sign, we can draw it out, play Pictionary, write it, perform it. There are many ways to communicate. Which one's best for you? And how can you, reach out to those who really need to know what you mean to express? Now, how it's interpreted, may vary. But how do you interpret someone who refuses to communicate? I'd rather take, a chance and risk it by, using different forms of communication that meet my style than not saying anything at all. And then there's follow through. I might say something, I'll stand at the company luncheon and say, all these great things, but I don't follow through. Right. So leaders have many options, and in my respective, practice, I have the opportunity to expose or bring back to light, some of those options, because they're swimming in, the same swimming pool they've been swimming in for, 5, 10, 20 years. And they think that's the only, body of water out here. They're missing out on the ocean and the ponds, and bringing new experiences and, revisiting, I guess, some of the foundational things, the fundamentals, if you will, allows a lot of leaders that I've engaged with to, hey, I get it, and I can still be me. So I'm authentically myself. You're authentically you. Do we have, our own insecurities? Well, we carry that in life all the time. And it's baggage that we carry when we're, within, work environments. And I talk about work and business and all that stuff. That's just, I love it. It's awesome. Because how often, again, can you get so many people with different personalities, different, things driving them to use their minds and, their bodies for that long of a time in 24 hours? It's exciting. It's always a fun, challenge. I wouldn't say necessarily an experiment, but, there's got to be some way where everyone can do their best. You don't have to be best friends with your colleagues, but while you're there, make it the best opportunity to do something great together.
Awesome. So I'm applauding from here, because that's all I can do. I'm literally like, this is amazing. You're right. I give you the job. You got the job.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Just don't call me EMPLOYEE. No. And if you don't mind, I want to jump on that. It's easy to call people, say staff, team member.
Yeah.
These are my people, which is probably the best one. And when they see that you represent them, too often I'll be at these, networking functions or, some kind of charity ball. And, hey, my EM, whatever. And, our, why are you talking to them like they're cattle? I bet you treat them that way as well. But I got one message for anyone who would like to, at least spark a different tone within their culture. Start addressing people and calling them, pick whatever it is, staff, crew, squad, or ask them, hey, instead of using that word, what would be the best way to describe you? Now, partners and associates, that, sometimes that goes into, some, organization structural stuff, right? Some legal things, but you can find something and then just do it. Keep on doing it. Keep on saying it. They're going to, first be like, yeah, right. This is, you got to be joking. But they'll get it, and they'll start, mirroring the same, efforts and provide that same energy. It's no different than, I can recall a time when I was a kid. I played, various sports, but I remember the grade school I went to. We had to wear old uniforms for a basketball team that I think maybe 4 classes before us had. They washed them, of course, but the vinyl was all rickety, and most of them were a little too high. And we go out there and we play. We do our best because that's what we had. That's how we represent it. But Mr. D is what his name was. Mr. I think I forget his name, but we referred to him as Mr. D. He was kind enough to get some money together and bought us new uniforms. When we got those new uniforms, boy, we played our hearts out. We lost that first game with those new uniforms, but we felt a sense of appreciation because he offered something new to us, right? He put a little bit of luster on us that we hadn't been used to for a while, because we were wearing those old rickety uniforms where everyone would make fun of us and say, look at you, oh, those are pretty tight, or they're too high. right? And mind you, these are boys growing up, 11, 12, 13 years old, things are changing. But just making that small adjustment really helped inspire us to do our very best. And the season ended up pretty well. We win a championship, but he won our hearts. And leaders can do that same thing. He stepped up and he decided to be a leader. He wasn't the principal of the school. He was just a teacher, but he was much more to us.
I totally get that. So I'm recruiting you to my team. I'm not sure what title you want. I know you're the collaborator, right? But I'm not sure how you want to. I don't know how you want to be on this team, right? I don't know what name you want me to give you. I don't know what we do here. I know, but maybe let's stick with the collaborator because that's your trademark. Okay, so that's awesome. Thank you so much for what you've shared tonight. I just want to ask, what's the future for Craig Neal? Because you have all these great ideas. You're bringing so much change and wisdom, most importantly, into the workplace. And you are changing lives. I'm sure, people will remember you years to come, what you did and how you made changes, for the people, very importantly, for the people of the workplace. So what's your future? What plans do you have in the future for Craig Neal?
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I appreciate, all of the praise, but like I said, I have to attribute, the majority of it to those early upbringing moments that my mom, of course, instilled in her boys. And through every person that I've been able to meet and interact with, my wife, my family, my kids, everyone, impacts, I guess my understanding of how things work, right? And that's just my understanding. So in respect to Craig Neal, I'm not selling the corporation. I don't plan on doing that. I want to continue until I'm done. Perhaps some mentoring, but I'm a serial entrepreneur in my own right. We also have a suite of firms that I manage daily as well. So just creating new, opportunities for other people. I want to, get involved with some philanthropy a little bit more than, I have in the past. We're getting there, some ideas, but I want everyone to have an opportunity to grow personally, professionally, and stand back and say, you know what? We did it. Not just me. Not just, that person and that person. We did it, collectively, right? So, the future, looks great. This is my 25th year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right. In this capacity, right? Have things changed? Have I evolved over the years? But my thinking has gradually, expanded to accepting that most people are fickle, including myself. We may change our, beliefs, our ideas, and, even our early disposition, right? But because we're able to still be malleable as adults, the future, it's ahead of us, and you never know. But the key is being or remaining authentic. If I make a mistake, I authentically made that mistake. If, I did something great, I hope that I authentically and, intentionally, did that thing because, it matters. We all matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So just remind people where you are and how they can find you if they want to collaborate.
Well, I only take on a handful of clients in a calendar year. So most times I'm very selective as to the projects, but I choose the people involved in those projects, right? So there's a qualification process. But moreover, I'm always willing to, have some dialogue and conversation. You can find me at craigneal.com. That's CraigNeal. And my contact information should be there. You know, I think I'm on social media and, you know, a few other things. But I believe in candid, authentic conversations. So please don't reach out to me if you aren't serious about being candid and authentic. And it doesn't always have to be about business. So, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I know your time is valuable. Okay. I am really grateful that you've shared not just your wisdom, but your time with me. And it's just great when you uncover a hidden gem. I don't know how many people know you out there, but you know, when I first met you, my first thought was, he's a hidden gem. He needs to be on my show because I need to expose you to more people, and I'm sure you're exposed to many already, but I'd love my tribe to know who you are. So thank you so much for spending this time. Thank you for taking the time out of your very busy world to share with me today. And I hope you continue to grow and expand in your business. Yeah, I'm sending a prayer, everything to what you do, because I think you are authentic. You have a wonderful way of doing things, which so many people could learn from. So thank you so much again. And to everyone listening, thank you for sharing this time with us. And we will see you again real soon.
Thank you, Ebony.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Okay, thank you. Goodbye.